Welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb, a community of folks like yourselves who are getting ready and staying ready for their next chapter. My guest today, I have been teasing this for quite some time. I am just so honored to have her from her table to my pink room. When it comes to difficult and important conversations, there's enough room and love for us all at her red table. She's also one of the superpowers behind one of the most successful families in Hollywood. Ageless beauty, Queen Adrienne, Gammy, Banfield, Norris, welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you for having me on.
I appreciate you so much. First of all, I am a fan of who you are as a person. I really prioritize transparency over everything and testimony teaching, and you have given so much of that to us throughout the year. So, what does it feel like to be in a situation of that magnitude and really being vulnerable with your life?
You know, it took some getting used to. It took some getting used to, because, I just wasn't used to publicizing like that.
Mhm.
And but I had to think about the fact that um my willingness to be vulnerable was actually going to be more helpful than not. And I just took it from that perspective, the people that I would help as well as myself.
Mhm.
So,
I do a daytime talk show, and oftentimes I get in situations where there's a story that resonates with me, and I feel the need to explain why this story is important and how it touches me by also sharing a part of my story. And sometimes I walk away and I feel like amazing, like it's a very cathartic experience. Other times I walk away and think like, what did I say? So, have you ever had a situation where you were like, "Did I say too much? Was that or was it just enough?"
come on now. You've seen Red Table Talk. Do you really need to ask that question?
Well, you seem so
Absolutely.
comfortable.
Absolutely. I've walked away several times feeling like, "Oh God,
Mhm.
thank goodness this isn't live and they'll be able to edit some of this conversation out." Um, but I think most times I really try to just be my authentic self and still try to be considerate of the guests and what the conversation is supposed to be about. And I feel like a lot of times I'm coming from the perspective that um is familiar to the average person, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah, a lot of times I think I do say too much, but again, I'm just trying to be my authentic self and still come from a place of understanding and compassion. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not.
Well, I think when we think that sometimes we're good and sometimes we're not, I think there's really a lot of magic in both of those perspectives.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like getting a compliment from the right person and then getting an insult from the right person. Kind of the energy is the same on that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate just the scope of, being vulnerable enough to really put yourself out there, but also you talked about resonating with the audience who may not be in the same situation as you are in life. And I think that when we think about, obviously you're the matriarch of your family. What is the key to balancing your personal and professional relationship with your family? And how is that different for people who are like, she's not like us? How would you say you really are?
Because because I feel like, my family is my family and we're all just people. And I know that's hard for people to understand. But we're a family that just ends up living their lives a little bit more um in front of the public and the camera than the average person. So you see a little bit more, but when you think about what is happening in the everyday family, we are having some of the same experiences. It's just publicized. And then as far as, how I balance that out, I try to just give in to the fact that they are the professionals and that they know better than me because they've been in the business, and I'm typically on the outside looking in. And so I kind of give in and let them, make the decisions as it is. But I have to tell you a funny story. I went to, I enjoy, being the mother and grandmother in this space.
Mm.
And I went to see Willow at Coachella. Oh man, that was such an experience. And I was in the audience screaming, Willow, we love you, we love you. And then after everything was over, I was like, did you hear me hollering at you, Willow? Did you hear me saying I love you? She was like, I heard you, Gam. And I was like, no, you didn't. She's like, yeah, no, I actually didn't.
I love that.
But I enjoy it so much. You like my grandkids are amazing, all three of them. They're such good human beings, and I'm just so proud of the job that Jada and Will have done with them. They are, all three of them, great human beings, very kind. And Jaden is got to be the most generous young person that I know.
I have a story for you actually on that note. A few years ago, I got into an Uber and the Uber driver told me, he's like, guess who was just in my Uber? And I was like, who? And we're in Denver. I'm like, I don't know. And he's like,
Willow.
Jaden Smith.
Oh, Jaden. Okay.
And I was like, really? And he goes, let me tell you something. He was so nice. I kept checking to see if it was really him. Like, totally normal, super polite. Like, he just went
Yes.
on and on for the entire ride. That was like,
Yes.
I'm so happy for you that you had this experience, because he was just like, his whole week had been made by
Yeah.
the interaction.
And I'm gonna tell you who else is like that. Trey. Trey is super kind-hearted,
Mm.
just super kind-hearted, He's
Yeah.
always like, it's all good, no matter what. No matter what, he tries to just come from a space of compassion and like it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you said earlier about your family understanding and being the professional. So they're used to being in front of the cameras. You weren't
Ugh,
necessarily that way. So
no.
tell me what it's like, because I remember listening to a podcast with Kevin Hart, and he was talking about how, the 99% versus the 1%, and what his real superpower, in my opinion, is that he's been a part of both. So he has more of a 360 view of the world.
Hmm.
And you growing up in Baltimore, not in front of, the cameras and not with all the fame and stuff, how do you see the world in terms of, like, what would you say to your younger self in Baltimore about the way the world works that she would be shocked about in Baltimore?
What I'm gonna say to that is that um because that makes me think about my own issues with self-esteem, right? And I would just say to myself, to my younger self, that it's more important for you to learn how to love yourself and not be overly concerned with what the world thinks about you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that quite answers your question.
No, it does. It does, because I think that there's something to, Michelle Obama wrote in her books about going to the hilltops and meeting with the kings and coming
Hmm.
back down to tell the rest of us, like, everybody's same. Like,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so yes, no, that does make sense. And I just thought, it was an interesting perspective of, a lot of times we come at things, well, all the time we come at things from our level of experience and understanding. And when that experience and understanding becomes diversified as we, go from chapter to chapter in our lives, we can think very differently about the world, having a more of a 360 view versus a 180 view.
Yeah. But I have to agree with Michelle Obama on that then, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and our experiences kind of shape how we react and how we move about in the world.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I was talking to you earlier, you mentioned that you have a little bit of time to breathe. So I got to tell you, we were really bummed to hear about Red Table Talk no longer being on Facebook Watch. But how soon can we expect it to make a comeback? Because I know there's got to be a comeback.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping that we find a good home, a good safe space for us to be. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's going to take however long it takes. And in the meantime, you can still watch episodes on Facebook, and you can still there's a podcast now that you can listen to, because I know everybody doesn't even have access to Facebook. So, we're still around, and hopefully we'll come back sooner than later.
So is it true that you came out of retirement to co-host Red Table Talk?
I went into retirement so that I could watch, so I could be on Red Table Talk. Yeah, because I was still working.
Mm.
I was still working. Actually, I retired twice from nursing. Because I retired early on when Jada started having the kids, and when the kids started working, I needed to be on set with them and all that, particularly Jaden. As Jada was working, Will was working, we went wherever Will was working. We packed up the family and went. So I had to, I would go and kind of be there to oversee the care of the children. And yeah, then when it was time for Red Table Talk, I was still working at Sinai in Baltimore, Maryland. I had gone back to nursing after the children were adults and didn't really need me anymore. And then the opportunity with Red Table Talk came along, and it was one of those opportunities that I just couldn't say no.
Yeah.
So even though I love nursing, can I tell you, I loved being a nurse. I absolutely loved it. But it was just one of those things that I just couldn't say no to Red Table Talk.
Well, to me, it seems obvious more so because it was a very unique opportunity to have three generations at
Yeah.
the table discussing such important issues. But you also, made a transition in your life to take care of the children. In some ways, were there similar reasons behind those two decisions?
I don't know how similar they were. You know, as far as caring for the children, that was my opportunity to really, really help heal the relationship between Jada and I. There was so much damage that was done through my addiction. And this is my way of trying to heal and parent her and help her by helping her with her children. And it was an extremely healing process for us. And then with Red Table Talk, it was also an opportunity for us to continue and explore in that area. And I felt comfortable with that decision because I knew that Jada was going to be at the helm of it. And I knew that she would protect me because I was coming in as, like off the street with no experience and not really understanding what this was going to all be about, because I had no idea that Red Table Talk was going to end up being what it was. Because if you remember when we first started, it was just Jada recording a video with Willow asking us questions.
Yeah.
And it was Willow wanting to understand who Jada was as a person beyond her as a mom.
Mm.
I mean, that's how it all got started. So, yeah.
Well, I think that really tells you why so many of us gravitated towards it because it wasn't contrived. It was very organic.
Yes.
And we also got to see the buildup, the production value change,
Mhm.
the guests changed. And I always think it's very exciting to go along for the ride on those things because it wasn't like I mean, obviously it was big because we're all watching it, but to see it grow and be a part of that, I think that's always a sense of pride for your audience as well. So we
Yeah.
appreciate taking that journey with you, and we're excited to see where we going next because we know we going somewhere.
Thank you. I hope so.
So you mentioned that through your sobriety, because you talked about your relationship with Jada, I think a lot of us have complicated relationships with our parents.
Hmm.
And myself at 42, I really have made a lot of moves in order to really help my relationship with my father. And my father was always just a very strict person. He's from the South, and he grew up with a very stressful life. And so he was always kind of a little bit harder on me than I thought that I needed to be or he needed to be.
Hmm.
So what would you say to people like myself who are really trying to create a safe space and a new dynamic with our parents?
Um, Give yourself and your parents grace. It's all a journey, and people do the best that they can do, and so just come try to give yourself and your parents grace, and try to be compassionate about their experiences and yours, and just be um open-minded about that process, and allow yourself to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Um, and you know what? Sometimes it works for people and sometimes it doesn't, Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and so you have to get to a point where you're accepting of who you are and who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the conversation is so important. I just had this conversation with my younger sister, who's 7 years younger, and she made a comment about like the way we grew up or something. And I
Mhm.
was like, "Did you know this about dad?" And like looked at me and she was super shocked about it, like how he grew up himself.
Right.
And I just thought, this is such an important piece of the puzzle
Exactly.
my aunt gave to me right before she passed so I could understand her brother more.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
how horrible would that have been for my life if I never received that information?
Yeah.
Would I be willing to be the first to initiate the relationship? So the conversation is super important.
It is. And family history, is so family history, family patterns, are so important in creating and developing who that person is. So it is important to kind of, if you can know the background and help understand, how they grew up and what their experiences were, and recognize that those experiences help create the person that they are, just like your experiences help create who you are.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I
very
appreciate
important.
that. Well, I have to talk about you as a nurse because you said that you had no experience in terms of coming to the red table and doing a talk show. But I would beg to differ because nurses are, and I'm not saying this in COVID era, the
Right.
actual heroes, like all the time.
Absolutely.
We see our nurses more than we see our doctors. Love the doctors, but we know who to go to when something's
Right.
going down. So do you think that being a nurse shaped your ability to transition into the talk show space?
I think it did, in that prayerfully, if you're going into a nursing profession, you're going into it with a caring heart, because that's what nursing is. You're caring for people, you're helping people. So it really curated that spirit in me, that caring spirit, being able to listen and listen with hearing ears, and learning to advocate for people. And then also in the nursing field, just all the different people that you have to interact with. You have your clients, the doctors, the social workers, housekeeping, nutrition, all those different types of people that are in the hospital staff that you're working with. Of course, the clients being number one, but in that there's different cultures, all those different things, so you learn how to interact with, you know, different people.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, that was very important, and me being able to come to the table and just kind of sit and listen and kind of understand and be aware of different people's experiences and cultures.
Well, especially at the time that you would likely be seeing them, which may not be their greatest hour.
Right.
So just that vulnerability there, it's very clear in your demeanor and the way that we get to see you show up. So I understand that you are going to be speaking at the 2023 Nurse Boss Summit. Tell the people about it.
Well, it's happening July 28th and 29th in North Carolina. And I'll actually be on a panel because you will never see me speak. You will never see me speak anywhere just by myself. It's not going to happen. So I'm on a panel actually with an actor, Guy Lockhart, who was on Chicago Med. And Alice Benjamin is a nurse practitioner. And we're actually going to be talking about transitioning from nursing career into entrepreneurial careers in entertainment. So it'll
Wow.
be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So we understand why you're there for a million different reasons, but I'm like, huh. Because
Yeah. And also I have forgotten this, that when Jada was doing Hawthorne, remember she did that TV show Hawthorne where she was the head nurse i- in a hospital setting. And
um,
she would come to me all the time and ask me, does this make sense? Is this how it would go? And I actually was on the show for one episode where I was an OR nurse.
you've been consulting for
I've
quite
been
some
consulting.
time. I really thought about it because I'm like, a lot of our medical professionals really excelled and were amplified as they should have been, especially during COVID
During COVID.
lockdown.
Absolutely.
And we have, on when I'm on the talk show, we have medical professionals all the
Yes.
time where we're like, they're famous on TikTok or
Hmm.
they're famous on Instagram because
Yeah.
they actually have the knowledge of what we need to know, and they're disseminating said knowledge in hopefully a responsible manner, and the people that we talk to do. But they also have these personalities that are meant to be amplified. So that is a
Absolutely.
very natural transition for sure. You,
Yeah. Look at Dr. Pimple Popper.
I
She's
know.
probably that show is extremely popular. And I'm like, ugh,
Y- I I
I
can't
can't watch it. I
I
can't watch
can't.
it. But it's very popular.
Oh yeah, we have her on and I have to like turn
Do
away
you?
from the monitors. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. I don't know how she does what she does.
Yeah, she's a friend of the show and I have to be told like, okay, you can turn back because I can't like
I
I'm like,
know.
I don't want to get sick on live TV.
I know.
That's what
I
y'all are
know.
trying to do. That's what y'all are trying to do. You're not gonna
Yeah.
get me caught up. At all. Well, let's talk about season 2 of your podcast, Positively Gam. It's out. So share the ideas behind your podcast. And I understand that it's geared towards a very special audience. So who is your
Well,
target demo?
I think I'm really gearing it towards people 50 and over. I'd be excited if other people, listen, but that's who it's really geared toward. People like myself who like we're listen, those of us who are 50 and over, like I'm almost 70.
Unbelievable.
And I am still trying to live my best life.
Yes.
Okay. We are still vibrant. We are still, I want a vacation. I exercise. I talked about menopause. I talked a lot about social issues,
Mhm.
you know, because people of our age, we're still living, we're still vibrant, we're still out here in the world participating, and we want to have a voice. And so that's what I, was trying to provide in Positively Gam. And there were a lot of topics that I wanted to tackle that we didn't tackle on Red Table Talk. So it was an opportunity for me to have my own voice, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I love doing the podcast.
I think that while obviously you said that it's targeting women 50 and over, but like we are voyeuristically listening because these topics haven't been adequately told to me in my 40s. Menopause, I have so many questions about what does that even really mean? Like, are there
Right.
signs that's showing up? And it's important that we hear from testimony teachers, from experts, from people who can really give us an inside
Right.
almost like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think one of my first shows was like sex after 50, you know? Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah. Like, I'm
Yes,
like, "Yeah,
ma'am.
I wanna know. I wanna know
I know
because
you do.
42 crept
Yeah,
up
because
pretty fast."
hey, because we don't stay young forever. Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
Although we can look it as you show.
Thank you.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. So I really wanna know, out of all of your accomplishments, what are you most proud of?
I hate this question, Erica, only
I'm
because
sorry.
there's so many. I think when anybody asks this question, they're like, ugh, I have 1,000 things, a thousand answers for that. But for me, honestly, I think the absolute most important one for me was my surrender to my addiction. Because you know how you go on the plane and they say you have to put your mask on, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else. And so I had to take care of me before I could be available for anybody else. So me being able to surrender to my addiction and get clean was most important because I wouldn't be here without it. So that was paramount. After that, I would have to say Jada, even though I can't take full credit for her, but I am so proud of the mother that she is and of the woman that she has been, um, considering what she has been through. It's just amazing, and I am constantly in awe of her as a mother, and I'm so grateful to that we've had the opportunity to heal. And then I would say thirdly is, um, my career as a nurse. I absolutely loved being a nurse, and I wish that for everyone, that people could find a career that they love that, would sustain them and they can make a living from. I went to school late. I was the oldest one in my class. I think I was 27, and I graduated magna cum laude, top of my class. I was valedictorian. I was thinking about that. How did I ever get up and speak at the podium? I don't know how I did that because I hate public speaking, but that was another one of my accomplishments that I was really, really proud of, that led to a very satisfying career for me.
Mm.
So those are my top three.
I'll take top 3 because
Okay,
I know
thank you.
that
Thank you.
I know that that's a long list. It's a
It
very
is.
fair question, but I do think that it also offers insight to, the things that come to mind in right away.
Yeah,
Because those things, are so cellular and are responsible for all of the other great things in our life.
absolutely.
So I do want to wish you a very happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate you coming on. I want to tell my listeners on
Absolutely.
July 29th, Gammy is speaking at the 2023 Nurse Boss Summit. For more information, visit nursebosssummit.com. Gammy, is there any comeback tips or ideas or anything you'd like to share with my comeback community?
Um, you know what? I have a prayer that I've been saying lately. And there's so much negativity in the world that I just want to share it. And it is, may I learn to live may I learn to live closer to your divine heart and be unmoved by the voices of the world. So just sit with that and figure out what that means for you, and may it help you find some peace.
I want to cry. I'm so sorry. Like, honestly, like, I think, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think that timing is everything.
Yeah.
And I really do feel very blessed and fortunate to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I needed to hear that, and I know that my comeback community needed to hear that as well. So I thank you so much for sharing. I thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank
Not
you.
that they need to be told, but tell the folks where to find and follow you.
Hey, I'm on Gammy Norris on IG and on TikTok.
Well, follow Gammy. Gammy, thank you so much for spending just a little bit of time with us on Comeback with Erica Cobb.
Anytime. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. Also, if you are in Greensboro, North Carolina, are you gonna hop a flight? Hop a flight. July 29th, Gammy is speaking at the 2023 Nurse Boss Summit. For more information, visit nursebosssummit.com. Thank you so much.